Hi everyone, Shannon here from Homeschool Travel Learning Captivating Compass. I'm super glad you're here. And today I am talking about virtual museums. So stick around. We're going to talk about how virtual museums and using them in your homeschool is way easier than you think. So let's get started. I kind of have this theme going on with let's go, right? And let's study. And virtual museums kind of pull those together. They give you the ability to travel and learn, even if you're in a different place, a different part of the world. So let's just say you're studying Renaissance art and you really want to go to Italy. There's a virtual museum for that. And let's say you're living or in, oh, I don't know, let's just say Portugal, and you're learning about US history. And so there are museums about US history all over the US, the Smithsonian, so many local and state museums that focus on the local history. So virtual museums are a great way to use in your schoolwork, but also use as kind of in your pre-planning for trips you might take. So we're going to talk about how you can use those and how it's super easy. And what I want to do is I want to talk with you about what they are and how to use them well in your homeschool, because there are a lot of different choices out there for virtual museums. They've really become very, very trendy, kind of the thing to do right now, and they're really good, but some are better than others when it comes to actually using them for homeschool learning activities and places to kind of create discussion and kind of I supplement or bring a little bit more life to a subject that you're studying at home. And some of them are a little flat, or their websites are difficult to navigate. And so we're going to talk about a couple of those different things. All right, so honestly, I have a few secrets about virtual museums and how to use them, and I'm going to share those with you today. So let's just take a look here real quick. The first thing I want to do is I want to define what is a virtual field trip, virtual museums. I use those terms interchangeably, so I don't want to create any confusion. A virtual field trip is like any other field trip where you're going somewhere yet you're staying at home. So you're doing it online in some online and digital fashion. And it can be for art museums, history, for science, cultural studies. It can also include going to zoos and aquariums and national parks. So you can do zoo cams. If you're studying a certain animal or certain species, you could go and look at volcanoes. If you're doing something like studying earth science or something like that, where you could look at volcanoes. There's even some really kind of quirky ones, like I found a tour of the original Star Trek set. So that's kind of quirky, but some people really think that's going to be kind of fun. And so, yeah, you can find that. So one of my other secrets is that I've used virtual tours and virtual museums and kind of this virtual field trip component in our homeschool for quite a few years. I've used it as we have to lead up to a trip. A good example of that is like when we went to Italy and we did some on location learning there in Italy. When we were in Naples, we went to an archaeology dig site. We went to the archaeology museum. We went to and toured the ruins, and of course we had amazing food and art and all kinds of great things while we were there in Italy. But before that trip, I took resources from the local museums and used them in our homeschool studies to bring a little bit of foundation and base to what we were going to study and learn about when we went and were there on location. So that's the typical style in maybe you might do in a co-op if you have a co-op that you do field trips with, or if you are coming from a traditional school model where you would learn about a subject, maybe go on a field trip, maybe 2 or 3 in a year, and come back and finish learning and incorporate the things you learned from the field trip. So the same idea holds true with these virtual field trips. But the key is, how do you get it from a passive stare at the screen uh, not, I mean, learning experience into an active learning experience where they're going to retain the information, they're going to have fun doing it, and they're not going to get lost. Because you know what? One of those things, the getting lost, you can even get lost on a virtual field trip. I've done it in museums. And so one of the things we realized in our family was that when we were starting to use virtual field trips, they were a little bit, they were passive. They enjoyed them, but we needed some resources to just keep the kids' minds active and actually engaged in the learning process instead of just kind of absorbing passively. So we created some resources. Those are in the blog post that will be linked in with this video. So you'll find those there, and there's a free resources there that you can use. It's called a virtual museum journaling and notebooking pack. And so I'll show you a little bit of those resources in just a minute, but I want to keep going and tell you a little bit more about my secrets and my tips. So one of the things that we found out was that the field trip websites and the virtual field museum websites, there can be a little bit difficult to navigate, especially for the little kids. But even some of the museums, they say, visit this gallery, and you go there and you're looking around, and then you all of a sudden realize you really have no idea what you're looking at or where you're supposed to be or how things actually tie together in a cohesive manner. So what happened is, again, I ran into this with my own kids, and so we created some resources to help you with that. So I've also got 2 unit studies so far that take virtual tours that are at museums and actually walk you through the tour and the exercises to go along. So you can get some really deep learning about Roman Britain and Egyptian mummies. So far, those are the 2 that are done. There's more in the works, but those will get you going and seeing how we put those together so that you can enjoy the great museums of the world and learn along the way and create, you know, a 4 or 6 week even unit study about a specific time period or specific subject for your homeschool. All right, so you may be asking, how do we take it from passive interaction to active learning with these virtual field trips and with the journaling pack and the notebooking pack? So let me I want to show you what those look like. So let's take a quick look over here. I believe this is the right place. And we are going to go here. So when you download the free journaling bundle, it's the journal and the notebooking pages that you're going to get. And it looks like this. There's also a part of it is going to be the 14 museums that I found that really do a good job providing resources for virtual field trips and virtual tours within the museums or zoos or aquariums and all different kinds of places. So they're good places to use these, but those places also have some pretty incredible resources on your own. So you're going to get the journal article, the blog post article in there, that's free. And then what we have is there's a scavenger hunt that you can do, and basically it's kind of an alphabet scavenger hunt, so it's a little bit on the generic side. So that means you can use it if you're going to the aquarium, if you're going to the zoo, doing zoo camps and aquarium camps, if you're going to an art museum or you're going to a history museum. You can look for specific things that just have to do with the alphabet. So if you're going to the zoo, you might find that you are looking at the penguins, and you have P for penguin, F for flipper, A for Arctic maybe because they live in the Arctic, and you can just go through and see what you can get. And what it creates is it expands on their observation skills and identifying other things about what's going on within the zoo cam and within the things that they're seeing, and giving them a place to capture that information. And so that's why those work. The scavenger hunt works really good, and it's really flexible with any type of field trip that's virtual. Okay, so the other page that we have, so here it's just a simple alphabet scavenger hunt that you use, and you can even create a category. So let's just say you're looking for fruit, and you are going to the zoo and you're going to look for fruit. When you look for fruit at the zoo, what you're learning is what do animals eat, right? So you might find that the monkeys eat bananas and what else they might eat, and that the elephants love lettuce and cabbage and different things, and watermelon and pumpkins and all kinds of different things. And so you'll see that it's a way to see, if you go at feeding time to the zoo, then you'll get to do that type of thing and see what they eat. So that is just one example of how you can use a scavenger hunt for that. And then you just draw a picture of the favorite thing you saw or something that was fun for you with that. So the other part of the scavenger hunt, or the virtual field trip bundle, the journaling bundle, is this journaling page where we're talking about where you went and how you can step through it. And this creates a little bit of independence for the kids, but you can also do it in a group setting or in a family setting. And you're just asking questions. First of all, you want to make sure that your kids are going places you want to go. So we throw that in there. Make sure you have adult permission to go to this specific website. And what do you already know? So if you're going to go and you're going to study Egyptian mummies, or you're going to study, let's think of something else even. Let's say we're going to go to the Air Museum at NASA or something. What do you already know about rocket ships or space or those kind of things? And then what do you want to learn while you're there? So you can narrow it down. And then what type of field trip is it? So is it one that you're doing that is focused on astronomy? Or maybe it's one that's focused on rocket ships and how to build rocket ships. So, and then simple questions. What are 2 things you learned about that subject? And what are 2 things that surprised you? So those create active awareness and, again, observation and engagement for the different things that the kids are looking at. And we go on with it and we just ask 2 more questions, what are 2 things that are new questions, 2 new questions that you have that you maybe want to explore more or have a discussion about, or that kind of thing. So we try to take them, move them to that next step of learning instead of just keeping it with that passive kind of flat learning. And then just draw something you learned about, just keeping it really relevant and right where that student is at. The other piece that is in the Virtual Museum Journal is this piece about using it for art museums. Art museums can be a little bit different than other types of museums, and so you want to ask a few different questions. So again, it starts out the same. Where's the museum? Do you have permission? What's the subject you're going to be looking at or studying? And then what do you want to learn? And then we take it a little bit deeper with, we want to look for 4 different artists, and if it's artwork, then looking for their signatures on the artwork. So when you go to art museums and you're looking at the digital art, they oftentimes have just a whole collection and a whole library of digital photographs of the different artwork pieces, and you can zoom in and you can find things like their name on the artwork and that type of thing. So you want to find them, and then on what piece of art was it on. And then the other things is looking at some of the art and then kind of working with it and thinking about the title of the piece and drawing a version of your version, and then maybe how would you rename it? What title would you give the artwork if you had been the artist? And then maybe draw your own version of what your interpretation of that art. So helping them just interact with it and bring the art alive to them and help them have some fun with it at the same time. And then going ahead and practicing their own signature. So, because you never know, there might be a famous artist someday too, but we all need to practice our signature. So that's fun. Then just going on and looking for things. Sometimes with art museums, a scavenger hunt can look a little different. You can do the same type of alphabet scavenger hunt in an art museum. And say, again, with fruit, when you're looking there for fruit, you will see that fruit shows up in so many pictures and so many pieces of art. So keeping that in mind, you can go through and find all different kinds and just see what you find just thinking about fruit. Or you can broaden it and look for this type of scavenger hunt where you're looking for a specific item, and then you just need to give what artwork it was in and that type of thing. So a horse, a watch, a mug, a dog. So if you're looking at many pictures, you can do that and pull those ideas through. And what we're working on here is again, that skill of observation and learning through observation. And then there's opportunities to create conversation based on those observations. What did they learn new about how the artist portrayed the horse? Or why was there only one dog in here? What does the dog symbolize in Renaissance art? And different things like that. So it's just tools to help you as the teacher jump off and begin conversations, but it also at the same time helps them to do some active learning. And then of course, if it's an art museum, you want to have your own set of drawings, right? So there's a page for drawing there too. And then other field trips, are different things of just getting out of the house and going on a field trip in the neighborhood. So you might do photo scavenger hunts in your neighborhood and different things like that. And those are resources that are also on the website. And you'll find those, some are free, some are paid, but there are loads of resources now for field trips, virtual field trips, getting out and doing kind of nature study walks and that kind of thing. So I hope you'll enjoy those. And I hope that you will go ahead and take a look at the blog post that's linked below, that you'll sign up and you'll get the free notebooking journal, and that you'll consider the Roman Britain and the Egyptian mummy studies to incorporate those into your schoolwork for your kids coming up. They're really versatile and they're good for pretty much second, third grade up through junior high and high school, and they'll provide just an opportunity to learn in a different venue without leaving your house if you can't or you can't afford to, or if the distance is too great. And so our goal here at Captivating Compass is to help you use the world as your classroom, no matter where you are or no matter where you're going. So I hope you'll join me and you'll sign up for those. And if you have any questions, you can always email me or tag me in the Facebook group, and I would be happy to answer those questions for you. If you have specific studies that you would love for me to explore and create, let me know those too. And I will do my darndest and work my hardest to find great resources for those, because I want you to use the world as your classroom and to have fun doing it. So you guys have a great day and stay captivated.